Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. Thank you for making our channel one of the fastest growing channels on the internet for personal finance, for politics, for information on stimulus, unemployment benefits. Let's jump right into the content for this video. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, can we continue to borrow money? Can we afford to continue borrowing in order to be able to fight this pandemic? I'm going to give you some surprising statistics that are going to make you sit back and say, wow, is this really how the numbers work? Yep. So on your screen right now, you'll see a tweet from Kate Richardson. Kate covers economic policy for the Wall Street Journal. So, Kate is one of the reporters I monitor all the time. And she wrote, can we afford to keep borrowing to fight the pandemic? And she's referring to this chart from the CBO. The chart represents the changes in CBO's baseline projection for deficits since March 6, 2020. Now, I know this looks a little bit complicated and a little bit technical, so don't you worry. I'm going to break this down for you, break this down for my subscribers. But here's the bottom line. For 2020, the projected deficit is $2.2 trillion more than it was in the March 2020 baseline, almost entirely because of the legislation. The bottom line is we've spent a lot more money. We're going deeper and deeper into debt. But there is a silver lining here, and that's the good news. The silver lining is for the 2021 through 2030 period, we're talking about the next 10 years, the projected deficit is slightly less than what was projected earlier in the year, and that's largely because the economic downturn caused by the pandemic, get this, has reduced projection of net interest outlays. In other words, we now have to pay less interest because of reduced economic activity, because of reduced Social Security, Medicare and discretionary programs. So those spending reductions are almost fully offset by reductions in revenue stemming from the downturn and other changes. Now I'll dig a little deeper into this, but the bottom line is the economic projections over the next 10 years are not as bad as were originally anticipated. On your screen, let's take a look at another tweet from Ernie Tedeschi, who's a very well-known economist, and I'll let Ernie help explain the bottom line to us. Ernie said that the CBO projects that the deficits over the 2021 through 2030 over the next 10 years are slightly lower than what they thought back in March. You'll see the tweet from Ernie on your screen right now. That's because the increase in deficits stemming from legislation and a weaker economic outlook were more than made up for by lower interest rates and inflation. So keep in mind that as the value of money decreases. Now, let me give you a quick overview on inflation. Let's say you have $100 today and inflation is 2%. So that $100 essentially declines by 2.2% in terms of purchasing power. So let's say you could buy $100 worth of groceries this year. Next year, with the same $100, you'll only be able to buy $98 worth of groceries. That's because the value of the currency becomes weaker as inflation takes place. So because the value of the currency becomes weaker, and also because interest rates are low, without getting too technical, without getting too deep, because interest rates are low and because of inflation, the deficit isn't going to be as bad as was originally anticipated. So, in other words, the deficit is there, the deficit is increasing, but the outlook isn't as bad because of low interest rates and because inflation is going to be kept under control by the Federal Reserve. Now, I know that everyone wants to talk about a doomsday scenario, and let me be very clear, the situation is tricky. It's definitely going to get tougher if we don't address the deficit in the future. But this is a glimmer of hope. This is a good thing because low interest rates allow us to control the environment. The US economic system, the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world, and we control interest rates, which allow us to be, in a sense, in control of our own financial destiny relative to other countries. Other countries do not have this luxury. There are countries across the world who are suffering to an extent that you guys probably don't want me to discuss on this channel. If you do want me to discuss the global impact of the pandemic, how other countries, including developed countries, are suffering economically much worse than us, let me know, I'll cover it. But we in the United States have the advantage, if you will, of having the reserve currency, of being able to inject money, being able to borrow money from our future selves, and being able to control the interest rate so that we reduce the cost at which we borrow money from ourselves. It's really something that is not possible for other countries. So let's look at another tweet on your screen from Ernie Tedeschi. Despite the huge upward revision in federal debt due to the pandemic, CBO projects we will be spending less on interest than they thought pre-COVID. So these are some charts. You'll check out these charts on your screen that give you a sense of our interest costs over a period of time because the interest rate has now gone down. So what is the bottom line? Here's another tweet from Ernie on your screen right now. What he concludes from these Congressional Budget Office revisions is that the short run risks of the pandemic and the recession still outweigh the medium term risks of higher deficits. In short, what he's saying is that there is a short term risk to injecting money into the economy. There's no doubt about that, because we're getting deeper and deeper into debt. But the short term risks, if we ignore the situation, if we just say, you know what, we don't want to borrow from our future selves, which, by the way, is what 20 Republican senators are saying. Let's be clear about that. 20 Republican senators do not want to inject any more money into the economy. That's why this is an important conversation. And that's holding up the Senate from passing the $2.3 trillion current proposal from the Democrats. And that's why the $3.4 trillion, the $3+ trillion HEROES Act from May from Congress was dead on arrival in the Senate, because Republicans do not want us to go deeper and deeper into debt and borrow from our future selves. This is a very complex intersection between politics and ideology on one side and between basic economics on the other. I want my viewers and subscribers to go beyond, I'm blaming Nancy Pelosi, I'm blaming Mark Meadows or President Trump, or I'm blaming Mitch McConnell, blah, blah, blah. You can do that, but that's not really looking at the big picture. The big picture is, where are we at economically? And understanding that these economic realities sometimes intersect with political and ideological loyalties. And yes, I'm sure there are things that you don't agree with, but it's important for us to understand all sides as opposed to thinking black and white, because again, the truth isn't black and white. The truth is gray, and the truth hides in the shadows. So what Ernie is saying as an economist is, we should be thoughtful about, and you'll see the tweet on your screen, we should be thoughtful about what goes into another fiscal package, but we should not shy away simply out of deficit concerns. This is very important. In other words, yes, there are short-term problems with injecting more money, going deeper and deeper into debt, but because of the low borrowing cost, we have the luxury of saying, hey, let's spend a little bit more money short-term, which is basically what's being said over here, because of low interest and because inflation has been kept under control. So I won't get too deep into those two aspects, but this gives us a window of opportunity to potentially inject more stimulus into the economy. I actually did a video back in May where I talked about the need to put another $1 trillion into the economy beyond the CARES Act. This was back in May, several months ago. So hopefully at some point we'll see some more stimulus. And finally, on your screen, you'll see a tweet from Jeff Stein over at the Washington Post. And Jeff pointed out something very important from the Congressional Budget Office. The Congressional Budget Office's estimate of the future spending cost. They wrote that the 10-year decrease is the net result of changes that go in opposite directions. Lower projected wages, salaries, and corporate profits, as well as recent legislation and other changes, increase deficits, but lower projected interest costs and inflation reduce them. So basically the point is, the estimate of the deficit for the next 10 years is less than what the agency originally projected in March. So I apologize if this was a little bit too complicated. My objective was not to overcomplicate things, but my objective was to simply make my subscribers, make my viewers and audience aware that because of the lower interest cost, because of the lower borrowing cost, because the Fed has slashed interest rates, and because of the fact that inflation is under control, we are in control of our own financial future. I know that 1% of my viewers are going to freak out and talk about Venezuela and talk about, the fact that the system is such and such. That's okay, you can do that. But the fact is, this pandemic has made the currency of the United States stronger than ever. That's number one. Number two, it has shown that we as a country can respond and can take decisive action, which is what the CARES Act was about. Number three, the fact that the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates has essentially kept the stock market up and essentially injected liquidity into the whole world. Other countries, I believe that other countries will look back at this time, at 2020, as a historic time where the US government did what was needed. Now, can they do more? Are they making mistakes? Absolutely. But this is about progress, not perfection. If you want perfection, I have news for you. It ain't gonna happen. There is no such thing as perfection. There is only progress. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Please subscribe to my channel. I have the fortune, the privilege, the honor of living the American dream. please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications so you get instant updates from us going forward. You can follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. We release exclusive content for our Instagram subscribers. Get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or time to 70,000. That's 70000, and you'll get added to our SMS list. You can also go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you can get added to our email list. You can opt out of the emails or the SMS at any point in time. No problem there. Make sure you please click like, subscribe, enable notifications. Also go to youtube.com/ignitiontime. That's youtube.com/ignitiontime, and bookmark our channel so that you can visit our channel and get instant updates right away, because sometimes YouTube doesn't always send out notifications. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week, so make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.